consider appropriate to marry. And I think it's going to be real interesting how all that plays out as we try to be a community of faith that does not rule. I think it's just, I can see some real potential clashes as to how that's going to play itself out as we live, because there is a balance of living in America but not living under the system of America. I do think Christ says, "Give to Caesar what's Caesar, and God's what is God." So I think we are called to be obedient citizens. But then I do think there's a line there that, I mean, if we're going to be a part of the kingdom and God's kingdom, then we have to. There's going to be some tough issues.
It's already beginning to happen when you look at how the Islamic movement has more rights than the Christianity. The Jewish community has more rights than Christianity. And I think the government is going to start stepping in and telling the church what it can and can't do, and what are we going to do then? Are we going to use the power over, or going to use the power under? We're going to step and have faith with God on these decisions that we're looking at now with loving people unconditionally and yet not discriminating against them. When we know that there's going to be members in our congregation that are probably not going to like it when we love those who have those type of relationships, we're going to lose people.
I think, I think one thing that just immediately comes to mind is, that exists in other parts of the world. And I think it's going to be real interesting in America how that plays out. I mean, you see it in other countries where the government clearly steps in and tells people what they can and can't do, to the point that it infringes on their ability to be Christian. And so you have religious persecution throughout the world, and we don't have much of that here, if any. But yeah, I wonder if there is a day where it's going to come, and the question is, how can we be a people of grace and an obedient to God, while living in and existing under Caesar for that. For that matter. So I don't know. That's one thing I've always thought was really interesting. Was I do think there will be times where that's, I think where we're going to come to a, bumping heads, and how we handle that as a church is huge. So I think our people throughout the world have handled it great, and handling persecution and still preaching the word and doing what they can. But yeah.
Well, if we go back to the book of Acts again, we can look and we see that the early Christians faced the Jews, the Pharisees, they faced the Romans, and then some of the other religions, and what all happened to them, and they went through it really gracefully. Hopefully we will too. But again, it begins with understanding our primary mission. And it's probably not too far away where we're going to start experiencing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's not a problem we've had much as Americans, as religious persecution and stuff like that. And I think, like you said, I think freedom in other religions is a little bit more right now, but I still don't think we're even scratching the surface of persecution.
Oh, no.
And, yeah, so that's something that intrigues me. But all in all, I think the book, I like books like that because I think they call into question the things that we've just kind of always said and done in American Christianity. And if nothing else, they offer a good perspective and a good reminder that, hey, we need to be careful not to try to have power, because that's just, once again, we just go back to scriptures and say, well, how did Christ interact with the world? And it's hard to make any case that we should try to push our way into power, or that we should try to legislate what other people can and can't do. And I think we're called to love and be graceful. So
Yeah, I think we've forgotten that throughout our history, and I can remember all the church growth books of the 80s and the 90s. They were good material, but again, I think they lacked the one thing that we all should be doing. Taking this country one person at a time and not making it into a Christian country, because it really isn't. Our government's not Christian. Some of them may be on there, but if they were Christian, there would be a lot more changes. And the government was devised by men, and therefore the government's going to take care of itself. The church needs to take care of itself and other people. The government will survive somehow. It's up to the church to keep the next generation of people inspired by how we do it.
yeah, and we're called to be, like I said, I think we're called to do the best with what we have, and to be followers of Christ in the way we act, the way we love, and the way we serve. So anyway, I think good stuff. Thanks for letting me be a part of the conversation.
You're welcome. I appreciate it too.
All right, thank you.